I'm not going to ask time frame because that always extends out the amount of time it takes to actually have the other stuff start. So I'm not ever going to ask time frame. Dog, what are some of the world changes that are about to happen as far as it sits right now? Like, because I know our society is about to change very rapidly, very quickly in the next few years. What are some of the world changes that are about to happen as it sits right now?
Mm-hmm. Great question. I'm going to listen for just a few seconds here and see what he shares, and as well as the rest of Spirit that I work with, because that's a big question. So let me listen. Oh, wow. He's like naming all these things really fast. I didn't expect him to just kind of like run down a list.
Oh yeah, we're going through a rapid change, and it just, I'd like to be able to like get ahead of it so I can like prepare.
He's saying currency, the form of currency, the way you know it, the way you use it is going to completely change. Also possibly be, I don't want to say nullified, but it's this feeling of like, even what is money is not as important. Like the fixation on that is not as important as like bartering goods, like sharing goods. That sort of like veil is going to be peeled back where we look at what's really valuable and holds value, and it's things that provide life, and that's not always money. He says, so currency, the form of currency, how you use it, and what you think is currency is going to change. Then he's saying pharmacology, like I should say like pharmaceuticals, like meds, drugs, prescription medications is going to change. Regulations there will be massive changes in that realm. Leadership is going to change. I don't know, this is so weird. It seems like that has something to do with, I'm very ignorant to politics, but I like it. But so this is what I see. It's as if like our country leader is going to change, but it's based on something that happens overseas, because I keep seeing like our leader overseas. I have no idea what that means. Maybe it's their relationship or something with overseas or other countries, but it's like our leader within the next year almost. I feel like our leadership is going to change completely. And it almost feels like, if I were to just interpret what I'm seeing literally, it's almost as if other countries consume our leadership, or because this is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing our leader change and then almost be swallowed by other countries. Like I'm literally seeing that image. So I don't know what that means, but there's that. So the pharmacology, the leadership, the currency is going to change. Most importantly, though, like the way we humans hold ourselves accountable, like the way we're going to embody and integrate accountability, which turns into empowerment. Like when we hold ourselves accountable for things, we become much more empowered to be sovereign individuals. He's also showing, this is fascinating, like a blanket effect of health increasing, like overall physical health in humans going up, which is fascinating. And this has nothing to do with the idea of COVID or this, idea of sickliness, because there's this thing called COVID, has nothing to do with that, and more to do with frequency shift and how people learn to, again, take accountability. So if things become very direct in the sense of like, for every push, there's a pull. So if I want this, I have to do that kind of thing. But it's going to be, much more health conscious. There might even be So now we see regulations all over, like prescription medication, regulations all over seeing like physicians. And it's as if this feels like it's like 2 years out, something like that. It's as if you will begin to see regulations like trying to rope and lasso holistic health, wellness, and well-being, where it's like there's a strong effort to sort of buckle down on what's happening in that industry, in that realm. So really fascinating, literally like flipping, like right now, what is prescription medications become over the counter, and then all natural herbs and remedies, things that begins to try to be regulated. It doesn't feel like a successful effort though. So literally flipping what's over the counter and what isn't, which is, you know, control mechanism. But at that point, it feels like on an individual level, people are much more personally powerful. So it's not a successful effort.
Because plants are medicine, so it's kind of like you can't regulate plants. They're found out in nature, so it's kind of hard to.
Right, exactly. And I think because people becoming more and more sovereign, holding themselves accountable, you're going to see more and more people take literally on every level taking matters into their own hands, yeah. Which could, these are Eric's words, could bankrupt the entire system as you know it. And
that is completely fine, because the way it is right now, it doesn't work.
Yeah, he's not talking, when he says bankrupt, he's not talking about financially. He's talking about it could nullify the need for physicians, nullify the need for banking systems, because when people become self-employed, self-empowered on just a human level, the things that they once were conditioned to believe they needed were no longer separate from them. It becomes completely shareable. So there's no more compartmentalizing, specializing, like you can have these rights to these services and you can't, kind of thing, which is like mind-blowing to think about.
Huh.
Yeah, it's also saying you're going to see a big change in the, this is random, industry of automobiles.
Well, yeah, that makes complete sense, because what we saw last year with like no one driving around, the pollution went down drastically around the world.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was something I was following with the whole COVID thing, because everyone was locked inside, not able to drive. It dropped.
That would make sense.
It just dropped the level drastically. So, like, if you saw LA, the air was clear there. New Delhi, they haven't seen clear skies in like 25 years.
Oh my God.
Like, if you look at pictures from last year, it was actually like, yeah.
Oh.
So does this lead into like, I know like the window for like open contact and stuff is supposed to happen like at the end of 2023. Like that's the start of the window. Is that part of the lead up to that?
When you're saying open contact, you're talking about like from one realm to the next?
That and like ETs and stuff.
Mm-hmm. So Eric is saying like it's already beginning to break open, but very, very minimally in our now time. So these things are like a preconditioning, like a ripening for that event. Like, well, it's not just an event though, because it's like ongoing, but it is conditioning the space. So he also keeps saying, he keeps interrupting. Like I keep feeling like I need to talk about an earthquake, or here's how we could interpret this. Either there will literally be like a massive earthquake, or because he shows me Mother Nature and he keeps saying she's going to quake, and he's showing me like a massive like rumble that wakes the whole earth. So that's more metaphor, more emotional, in the sense of like, you know, just weather events, people become more conscious of how they're treating Mother Earth. So I'm not sure if that's a literal or symbolic interpretation, but that too is going to foster what you're talking about, this connection, direct connect, much more widely accepted, and that is everything. Like if it's accepted, it becomes fluent. So it's when something gains momentum, it gains momentum because it's gaining momentum. So like almost like a double effect, if that makes sense. But it will be more than not, he says, and very effective communication. That may have something to do with the type of automobiles that we begin to engineer around that time frame as well, like the big change in that industry.
Well, I know electric's a big thing right now, but I know that hydrogen fuel cell cars are supposed to be the thing that actually become the long distance haulers and everything else versus like gas, like we have. Because that just it just emits water. It doesn't actually emit CO2 or anything else. It's just nice, clean. And you can use, like, there's one company that I follow that creates hydrogen fuel cells that you can create pretty much out of any sort of like. It's much easier to get hydrogen fuel compared to what we do now, as far as actually using. Yeah, and as far as I know, as far as the medical stuff goes, there's these things called med beds that are from off world, like that are given to our civilization or our planet to help heal. Like essentially, you just lay in it, and because the way the technology works, it actually heals you and like fixes any part of your body that might be not working properly.
What this is, but Eric's talking about it when you're talking about it, is it something like it harmonizes, it's tonal. He's saying it's something about tones.
Yeah.
And this is something that's already happening or that you're aware of?
It's there. So what I heard, last thing I heard is there were 25 beds on the planet, and then they got shifted out of our dimension, and like government or whatever tried to actually take them apart and try to figure out how to use them. That they got pulled away so they couldn't be like kept from the masses.
It seems like just as you're talking about this, what I'm hearing very directly from Eric and from Spirit is it's tonal. It's something about just it's literally like tuning a guitar and going, oh, now it's in tune, now it's going to sing right. Okay, be on your way. You know, it feels like just laying in this bed and it corrects your, like it tunes you. Mm-hmm. But it has like an anti-gravity effect, anti-aging effect, not mm-hmm. like you're going to leave and be able to float, but the density of what you did carry no longer suppresses your functionality. So it's like anti-gravity, anti-aging, because it seems like it pulls you into that 0 point of like frequency. Mm-hmm. Like where, have you heard of that before? Like where you're in that void space, like which is eternity, which is super cool.
It's also kind of why I don't age like everyone else does, because I know how to put myself in there without like, if I'm sick or something like that, I actually just take myself into the meditative state, and it's like, I don't typically get sick like everyone else, and I don't age like everyone else does. So.
Right, I don't either. Last time I had a cough was when my daughter was 6 weeks old, and she's 13. Like I don't get anything. I get allergies here and there, but I don't know why. All I can say is just it's a frequency thing. Mm-hmm. You know, it's you don't subscribe to it, and it can't inhabit itself. It can't inhabit you. You know.
I don't really see much of a reason to get sick most of the time, so I just don't.
Yeah. Right. Right.
About what time frame are those supposed to be becoming wide use, as far as like?
What time frame is what?
About what time frame as it sits right now are those going to be starting to become wide use among our population?
I can't make out what you're saying. It's like still.
I said about what time frame is for the med beds. Are they going to start being used here on Earth as far as like?
Okay, let's see. Eric is literally showing within a year and a half. He's like, and I feel like there are, this is going to sound so cheesy, I want to call them like light keepers or gatekeepers or something that already have them or have access to them or wherewithal access. You know what I mean? Like intuitive knowing. And so it's just a time, it's literally about manifesting it. So like if they were confiscated, it's like you can't confiscate intuition. So this feels like it's something that's regenerated, but because it's regenerated in a higher pitch, like a higher frequency, then it can't be confiscated. And so there's so much being shown. So it becomes this thing that's sort of like introduced, but I almost want to say reintroduced, because it's like it's nothing new, but new to our wherewithal in the now. And this is super cool. I keep seeing, I have no idea why, I keep seeing the Egyptian eye. I don't know why.
The process with, because you know the pineal gland, yada, 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 that whole thing. What I heard is it will actually essentially knock off the calcium buildup in pretty much most people's pineal glands, so they'll actually, pretty much everyone will become psychic and everyone will become.
And function from a place of consciousness.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense, because what I'm seeing is like literally like laying in this bed. It's almost like looks like a tanning bed, but there's, you know, the light, like you lay in this bed, you close the top and it's just tuning your frequency, but then it's impressing all of the sort of that void space, that 0 point of reality, like into your light body. So that's probably why I keep seeing the Egyptian eye really big. And then you leave where you're functioning. So it's like auto-tuning you. Like it's just a mechanism that, and then you leave much more in that space of functioning from a level of consciousness instead of rationale. One is finite, one is infinite, of course. So within a year and a half, I see people like this being like a revolving thing.
Yeah, I know as soon as I can have one available to me, I'm gonna go jump in just so I can kind of keep. I've been dealing with like clinical depression since I was like 8 years old, and I've been kind of using dosing with mushrooms to help deal with that. But I want to actually just kind of clear that all up so it doesn't kick me back into I don't want to deal with it anymore. So
yeah, absolutely. Yep. And it feels like, you know, it's interesting how the old technology would be, you know, we could go to a hypnotherapist. We go in, we lay down, they take us back through our stories so that we can somewhat bring it to wholeness and completion. This does not even need to acknowledge the story to know how to tune the frequency. It seems like it's just like a flip of a switch almost, which is super cool.
Okay, cool. That helps me deal with something that's been a struggle since I was like 8 years old, and I'll be 38 pretty quick. So it's like not having that anymore will be a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Yep. And it's, you know, I'm asking Eric, I'm like, well, that sounds intense. If you have some serious pain bodies and you just are flipped, you know, then there's alignment or calibration that you would think would need to happen. And sometimes that shift can be incredibly emotional or physical things happen. And he's like, nope, not even that, because your light body will transmute all of it. Like your physicality won't need to take on like the processing or the alchemy, which is like mind-blowing, really cool.
Yeah, no, like I said, as soon as I can get it, I can go get in one and get tuned up and everything. I'm going for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.